Hey Moira, this is your brother. You're a psychopath. So I think I figured it out. I figured out the broad outlines of what's happened to me, dad, you and mom, and everything that's been happening in this family since about, I don't know, 2008. It's a very simple story. Extortion. Extortion to deprive someone of an inheritance. An Italian mafia racket or scam to deprive someone of a very large inheritance. And they target wealthy families where there aren't a lot of kids and one of the children is a psychopath. And you made connections with the Italian mafia in either Ohio or Michigan as a result of the fact that some of your fellow ballet dancers at the Ohio Ballet or Ballet Detroit were engaged in part-time prostitution during the summer because they were poor and they had personality disorders. Statistics demonstrate that about 7% of college-age women, which you were at the time when you were in Detroit and Ohio and Michigan, whatever, when they're under economic stress, 7% of college-age women will engage in part-time prostitution. And of course, as we know, Mom personally experienced situations where the mafia, when they observe someone engaging in prostitution, they extort them. They run a protection racket on the prostitutes. Local Italian mafias do not allow anyone to engage in prostitution without paying a protection racket to them. It's a form of extortion. So it's literally axiomatic. It's a matter of statistics that when you were working for Ohio Ballet and Ballet Detroit, that during the summers you weren't employed, and you had dad to give you money. And I remember mom and dad were sending you money so that you could have a nice life while you were dancing in Ohio in your mid to late 20s and in Michigan. But the women you danced with, say that hypothetically there were 50 women in the company, 7% of 50 is about 3.5. Statistically speaking, it's a certainty that 3.5 of the women you were dancing with in Detroit and Akron, in Ohio and Michigan, were engaged in part-time prostitution during the summer because they were poor, they were young, they were attractive, they were female, and it's about that percentage of the female population that has either narcissistic personality disorder or they are psychopaths. And people like that will engage in prostitution very willingly. So, and of course, the Italian mafia, which is strong in Ohio, as a result of the labor unions were out there for auto work, and some other things, and in Detroit as well because of the auto worker unions and corruption in the auto worker unions. There's mafia all over the place in Detroit and in Akron. And so when obviously one of your part-time prostitute fellow dancers ran into the Italian mafia out there, either contacted them to not get beat up in a protection racket or was doing part-time prostitution and got caught by the local mafia and got physically threatened and had to pay them tribute. I don't know which it was, but it was one or the other. And that's how you hooked up with the Italian mafia when you moved to Greater Boston, and you told them that you had a father with a lot of money and a brother you wanted to get rid of, and that you wanted all the inheritance. And the Italian mafia agreed to use extortion and a racket to get rid of your brother and give you all the inheritance, but they'd want, I don't know, 25 to 40%. And the Italian mafia passed you off to the Tambellopoulos family, who are Greek mafia, who are basically a crew that works for the Italian mafia in the greater Boston area. And that's according to Bobby Luisi, who has a YouTube channel, who is an actual, he was a soldier in one of the local Italian mafia families in greater Boston, and he did time in federal prison. And he has an actual YouTube channel where he talks about mafia business. And he says the Greek mafia in Greater Boston works for the Italian mafia in Greater Boston. And the reason for that is pretty simple. It's population. There's more Italians than there are Greeks. So the percentage of the Italian population in Greater Boston that are criminals is larger than the Greek population in Greater Boston that are criminals. So the Italian criminals have more guns and more guys to shoot other people than the Greeks. So it's just a matter of sheer numbers. The Greeks have to work for the Italians. And this is not a slight on any ethnic group. There's organized crime in every ethnic group. A Jewish organized crime group a while back was even trading in organs. There's organized crime in every ethnic group. So since about 2008, my life's been wrecked by you, Mom, corrupt members of the Newton PD, the Greek mob, and they're just a crew that's working for the Italian mafia. And I know this because Steve Solari of Advance Auto is obviously an associate of the Italian mafia. And sometime last year, he had someone who looked to me, like a real live made man from the Italian mafia, a mafia soldier in his store to observe me while I told Steve what was going on with me and you. Because I was talking to Steve because I trusted him. Obviously, I don't trust Steve Solari anymore, as he is. I'm certain he is an associate of the La Cosa Nostra in Greater Boston. So what has happened with Dad's will and Dad's death and my life over the last 15 years, or even going back as far as 2004, the woman who got me run out of the DA's office had a Sicilian last name. I'm going to say that again. The woman who wrote the email full of falsehoods that got me run out of the DA's office, she has a Sicilian surname. She's Sicilian. So that's worth looking into. So Moira, you're in trouble. Because this is no longer a story of I'm delusional and there's all kinds of strange things going on. It's a very simple story. My sister made contact with the Italian mafia to run an extortion plot on me, to ruin my life, extort labor out of me, and extort me out of my inheritance. There were some very complicated lies and confidence tricks and tricks with documents along the way. But ultimately, it's a very simple story. Italian mafia steals inheritance for psychopath in the Dorsey family. Got it, Moira? Extortion. Just remember that word, extortion. Oh, and here's some other words Steve Solari should probably remember over at Advance Auto. And some other people in Greater Boston should recall. These are 4 words they should remember. Racketeer-influenced corrupt organization. Zoe Greek Restaurant Group and Advance Auto should really remember the following words. So the people who involved in those businesses should remember the following words. Racketeer-influenced corrupt organization. Have a nice day, Moira. Keep Liam safe, please.